see that.
I'd like to call the January 7th, 2025 meeting of the Tompkins County Legislature to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll do a roll call of members. Shauna Black. Here. Travis Brooks.
Here.
Randy Brown.
Here.
Amanda Champion.
Here.
Susan Curry.
Here.
Deborah Dawson.
Here.
Rich John.
Here.
Dan Klein.
Here.
Ann Corman.
Here.
Mike Lane.
Here.
Greg Mezzi.
Here.
Veronica Pillar.
Here.
Lee Shirtliff.
Here.
Mike Sigler.
Here.
14 members present. We have quorum. The first order of business this evening is the election of a temporary chair. I'd like to open the floor for nominations. Deborah?
Thank you. It's my privilege and pleasure to nominate our ranking tenured Democratic legislator, Mike Lane.
Is there a second? Rich John? Are there any other nominations for temporary chair? Could I have a motion to close nominations for temporary chair? Ann Corman. A second. Veronica Pillar. I'll now call for a vote for temporary chair, or a vote to close the nomination, sorry. By show of hands, can I see who is interested in closing nominations? That's 14 ayes. Thank you. Any opposed? I'll now call for a vote for temporary chair. All in favor of Mike Lane as temporary chair? 14 ayes. Any opposed? Congratulations, Legislator Lane, temporary chair.
Thank you very much. Our meeting was ably called to order by our chief clerk, who is Katrina McCloy, who's ably assisted by our deputy clerk over here, who is Taylor Spencer. And we thank you for that. And we have staff are here. I won't go into a real welcome for our new county administrator. I'm sure our chair will be talking about that, whoever's elected. But we're pleased to have Corsa Kumfe here for his first meeting. Our charter requires us every year to have an organizational meeting and to elect leadership. Leadership is the chair and vice chair of the legislature. It's a very healthy thing. Some counties elect their leadership for the full term, say the full 4 years that they get elected. But we have a chance to review our leadership and change it each year. And sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. But I think it's a real plus for Tompkins County, the fact that we do this and we are able to look at who's available and the work that's been done and who's interested, and that's how we go forward. Well, enough for me. My short job tonight is to call for nominations for our next chair of the legislature for 2025, which is the last year of our 4-year term. Do I have Veronica Pillar?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to nominate Dan Klein for a second term as chair of this legislature. First, it's customary for the nominator to make brief remarks on the nominee, so I went back and watched some old videos of other people doing that. And in 2021, when Shauna Black was nominating Leslie McBean Claiborne to her second term, she began by saying, "Thank you, Dan," or shall I say Chair Klein, and people laughed at the time because he was the temporary chair. And Dan said, "Don't say that." Well, now 4 years later, Dan has served as chair, no qualifiers, although I think he still prefers to be called Dan. And in my view, he's done a very good job, a steady job, and I would love to see him serve another year. Dan is steady and straightforward, has been in the 3 years I've known him. And from what I've heard, in the additional 8 years before that on the legislature, this will be his 12th year. He's a clear communicator, even when updating us on dicey situations, and an excellent listener, one of the best I've met, who will follow up to be sure to understand other people and what they're saying and their point of view, regardless of whether he agrees. As chair, he's diligent about making sure everyone gets to be heard and everyone's ideas get their fair deliberations, regardless of whether he, as District 7 legislator, intends to support it. And I think that is an important job for the chair to do. So I'm honored to nominate him to steer us through this next year.
Thank you. Is there a second? Randy Brown.
I'd like to be the second for Dan and ditto everything that Veronica just shared. Dan has been a good listener, and I've got to know him better. I followed his career for many years, and it's been good to work with him, and I like his leadership style, and I'm glad and honored to do it.
Thank you. Are there other nominations for the position of chair of the legislature? Not seeing any. Does someone want to move to close nominations? Travis Brooks, seconded by Amanda Champion. All those in favor of closing nominations, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Nominations are closed. Now we will take a vote for chair. The sole nominee is Dan Klein. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Are there any opposed? That's unanimous. Congratulations, Dan.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I just want to say what I said a year ago when I was first elected chair, which is my goal is to live up to your expectations, those who voted for me. So thank you, thank you. The next order of business is the election of a vice chair. Are there any nominations from the floor? Travis Brooks.
I would like to nominate Greg Mezzi. Is this the part where it's customary to say nice things?
You can say as little or as much as you want.
I've gotten to know Greg the last few years. He came into the legislature when I came in. I've been on HED and have been able to watch Greg chair that committee, and I appreciate that even when Greg is pretty certain about a decision, he's willing to listen. And there's been times, more often than not, where he is taking information in and has made a better decision after he's received information from others. And I really appreciate his ability to pivot, listen, and include that in his thought process and decision-making. That's the type of person that I would like to see be our vice chair. So there we go.
Thank you. Is there a second? Amanda Champion.
Yeah, thanks. I agree with Travis, and I would second Greg's nomination to be vice chair. I think he's detail-oriented and hardworking and would be a great addition to our leadership team this year.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations from the floor for vice chair? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close nominations? Veronica moves, Mike Sigler seconds. Let's have a vote on closing nominations. All in favor? Are there any opposed? Okay, that motion carries unanimously. We will now have the election for vice chair. Greg Mezzi is the sole candidate. All in favor? Any opposed? 2 opposed. The motion carries 12-2. Greg, congratulations. Would you like to say anything at this time?
No, I appreciate the confidence. And again, I think to echo Dan, your comments, I hope to live up to the expectations of all of us around this table and the rest of the community. So thank you. It's a privilege and an honor.
Very good. All right. We do not have an executive session tonight, and we do not have any reordering of business that I'm aware of. So let us move on to privilege of the floor. This is the time when members of the public can come speak with us for up to 3 minutes. And when you do so, you are agreeing to some rules. The rules are covered on this blue sheet. If anybody from the public wants to speak, please go to the back room, grab a blue sheet, fill it out, bring it up. If you are speaking tonight, you're agreeing to the following rules. I agree to a 3-minute time limit. I agree not to raise my voice. I agree not to use lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, or libelous language, or speak or act in a manner that would tend to incite a breach of the peace. I agree not to speak about county personnel matters. Personnel matters include comments about the job performance of named county employees other than elected officials. After 3 minutes, I agree to leave the microphone and yield the floor. Transferring time to another person is not permitted. I agree to be courteous and not make comments, gestures, outbursts, or other disruptions while other members of the public or legislators are speaking. And I agree that if I cause a disruption and I'm asked to leave, I will leave the chambers. First up tonight is Zach Wynn.
Good evening. The issues at the Asteria building I have previously outlined, including overdoses and other incidents requiring first responder assistance, have continued into the new year. I look forward to the discussion of the Vecino Group's tax abatement at tomorrow's Industrial Development Agency meeting. I think it would be helpful to determine exactly how much the responses to the Asteria building are costing the county in first responder man hours, if only to get a more accurate assessment of the true cost the building represents to the public beyond the tax breaks issued to Vecino. There is also the human cost the Asteria represents. The Ithaca Community Police dashboard currently lists 2 deaths having occurred at the building. I request that the legislature investigate precisely how many people have died at the building since it opened. I am thankful that the Tompkins County Environmental Health conducted an inspection of the Asteria and issued the Vecino Group a citation for the out-of-control garbage, which was found to contain a great deal of syringes. I hope their plan to regain control of the conditions at the building are successful. It is worth noting that the syringes in the building's trash that you have seen in photos littering common areas of the building are almost certainly provided by local harm reduction organizations that are funded at least partially by county taxpayers. I have previously suggested that the various local organizations that distribute syringes use color-coded syringes so their approximate origin could be surmised. I think this is an idea worth seriously considering. It could be implemented for relatively low cost. I would also like to know if the move-in coordinator position at Vecino's nonprofit arm for the Asteria and Art House that was funded by the county using $95,000 in ARPA funds remains unfilled. Will there be any attempt by the county to claw back some or all of these funds should the position remain unstaffed? I have communicated with a person who recently terminated their lease due to conditions in the building and moved. This is a luxury that not everyone living at the Asteria can afford. Please consider suggesting to the various local social service organizations like Tompkins Community Action and Ithaca Housing Authority to cease placing people to live at the Asteria until conditions at the building are under control. Continuing to give Vecino money when they are failing to deliver on the responsibilities amounts to enabling their poor decisions that impact some of the most vulnerable people in the community. Thank you.
Amanda Kirschgessner.
Happy New Year. Thanks for being here tonight. People tell me I'm brave. You're brave. Holding an elected office is incredibly brave. Being a local legislator means that you're tasked with the responsibility for oversight of county agencies, and DSS is one of those agencies that really needs some of your attention. The current Code Blue shelter, while the staff and the individuals there are absolutely making the best of it, is completely untenable. We absolutely need to do better. The funds that you released shortly before Christmas still haven't made it into the hands of people who just want to take a shower and have no means to do so in a routine or regular way. It doesn't seem like it needs to be this complicated. I want to echo what Lee Shurtleff said, that it's ridiculous that we have to bus people out to Lansing, but the least we could do is actually make sure that they have the means to do this. I don't know if you've ever gone more than a couple days without a bath or a shower. It's one thing if you're hiking in the wilderness. It's entirely another if you're living in essentially like a soft prison. I mean, and that's my word, not theirs, but, you know, there's fights, law enforcement's there all the time. You know, staff's not enforcing rules equally, security can't get involved because the rules aren't being equally enforced. It's a bit of a headache and, you know, teeters on dangerous at times. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about DSS. I would love to take any of you there to sit in the lobby with me and meet some of the individuals I've met. I think it would benefit all of you to meet the people who work in security, who work at the front desk, the people who actually are tasked to respond to issues as people come in. This is a fun one for you. I don't know, I think it was shortly before Christmas, a woman was denied service because the supervisor of a unit would refuse to come out and talk to her. She had 2 small children with her. She kicked out a window and, yeah, I mean, had a complete mental health breakdown in the lobby on top of an overdose that occurred a few days ago. I mean, these things are all public knowledge. I don't know what it takes to help conduit you into a position of actually providing some oversight. You know, I'm not sure if it's a leadership issue. I'm not sure if it's overworked caseworkers. I'm not sure what their caseloads are, but I know who's in a position to find out, right? That's you. You guys could figure out all of this really quickly, I imagine. Please help us. Like, denial of services isn't the solution. Oversight of the people in charge is. Thank you.
Next up is Terry Rose.
All right, I was at DSS today and they gave me temporary housing for me, but my animal is a registered service dog, and the hotel is denying me to stay there with him. And I have no place to put him. And I have all the documentation right here that proves he's a service animal. And now I'm homeless and I have nowhere to go. I'm not going to leave him out there. So I don't know what else to do. That's all I got to say.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak? Okay. Next up is municipal officials. We have 2 members of Ithaca City Council.
That's that last time.
Evan and Costello.
I feel more comfortable.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves too and start.
You want to go first? All right. Hello. I am Pierre St. Perez. I'm on the City of Ithaca's Common Council. This is...
I'm Patrick Keel, City of Ithaca Common Council, College Town.
Yeah, so Happy New Year. And Common Council has not yet met this year, as the first Wednesday of the month was New Year's Eve. As I understand it, we considered it and decided that we would not, in fact, meet on New Year. Not on New Year proper, not even New Year's Eve, yeah. We decided no. So we have not yet met. However, earlier today, the mayor made his State of the City address, and Alderperson Keel is going to go over some of the highlights and notes. However, I do encourage all of you to watch it.
Thank you, Alderperson St. Perez. Yeah, it was a quick watch. It's about 9 minutes, but I thought I'd just hit some highlights for you today. The mayor will be introducing a resolution to incorporate bike share into our ongoing city budget for 2026. He also touched on the DRI, which I have talked about here before, but we believe is the most competitive in the city of Ithaca's history, and again, that would be for downtown. And then he also announced a new city task force for homelessness to review city policies and work in conjunction with community organizations as well as the county legislature and other governmental bodies. Myself, Alderperson Shapiro and Alderperson Matos will be serving on that, as well as community members and community organization representatives. And that is all I have for you today, and we look forward to giving updates on our meetings proper.
I mean, just one more thing. As I understand it, we have secured a substantial support from the state in terms of doing a holistic rezoning of the entire city of Ithaca. This has been a long time coming, and it should be a good step for the city. But I also want to take this opportunity to remind all of you that the city has been working on a lot of stuff over the past year and frankly the past couple of years in order to try to address our whole community-wide housing issues, right? And this extends from housing accessibility to increased costs and so forth. Look, we are trying, and I'm sure with our rezoning we will continue to try, but I'm asking each and every one of you to work with your town boards, work with your communities to help address this. The city, bluntly, is running out of space, has run out of space. Our community needs more housing. We need to be able to fit more people here. People want to live here. And realistically, the city can't fit all of them. So your communities need to pitch in. I'm asking you to please help.
Questions or comments for our Common Council friends? Ann.
Yeah, thank you for working on those issues, especially increasing the amount of dwellings that people can live in. I read an article in the last day or so about, and if it's accurate, something like 314 short-term rentals, and 82% of them were single-family homes, something like that, and in the city of Ithaca, and that was astounding. So that's taking almost 300 houses, whole houses, off of the rolls for people to rent or buy here. So thank you for looking at that. Can you just tell me, I won't ask for all the details, but can you give me one clue on how you're going to limit those? I know the article talked about permitting and stuff like that. Are you going to limit the number of houses that can be listed like that?
For short-term rentals? Yeah, and Pierre can update you on this more. Earlier this year, we passed a city ordinance which disallowed short-term rentals in totality, except for if you go through a very strict permitting process, and in order to have a short-term rental, it has to be owner-occupied. So effectively, it cut down the size of the Airbnb and other short-term rental population pretty significantly in the city of Ithaca.
Yeah, we are anticipating it decreasing significantly once that policy is in full effect. And I think the most exciting part is that we actually have an enforcement plan, which should work. I mean, it is easy to put a policy saying we are only allowing permitted, short-term rentals on the books. But frankly, that was already in effect. And I think there were less than 7 permitted short-term rentals in the city. I'd have to double check the numbers, but it was extraordinarily small compared to the amount of real ones. We are partnering with an outside group to monitor listings and be able to cross-reference those against our permits that have been issued. We're anticipating this having a huge effect, especially in combination with the owner occupancy requirement in the Airbnbs.
Thank you. I know it takes a lot of effort on your part and also on staff time to do this, so thank you.
Randy.
Yes, thank you for coming and thanks for the update and Happy New Year. Are there any discussions or plans for the city related to where a bus stop or a bus station or any type of centralized area for that type of function?
While I think transportation is always top of mind at the city, and I know that these conversations are going on, I haven't heard anything about a centralized bus stop as of now, but I'm happy to keep that in mind and bring any updates if I hear anything.
Randy, you talking about the long-distance buses, like Greyhound-type buses?
Yes, and because a lot of them end up on Green Street, and I see people hauling suitcases many, many blocks sometimes in bad weather, and I was just thinking about that. So.
I'd say that's something worth thinking about. To my knowledge, the city has considered that in the past. However, that was before either of us were on council, so I'm not going to, I do not know details.
Okay, thank you.
Greg?
Yeah, Randy, that's something that has come up at STPB before, and especially with tour groups and tour buses, downtown hotels, where to park them, not using some of the business parking lots on 13. So it's something that is kind of always floated there, but has never really gotten a tremendous amount of traction because the question of where always kind of takes over the conversation. As it relates, I appreciate the work that you all are doing and are about to undertake. I know the zoning is a big lift. I would ask that maybe as you go through this process, if you can get a sense of the body or some sort of resolution to pass common council to share with your planning board and your zoning board on the intentions or the desires or the direction in which common council would like to see development move forward or zoning, whatever it is that you all want to achieve from this process, send that message, because I think sometimes there's a big disconnect between the elected boards and then those boards that are serving in the zoning board, planning board capacities, which they do great work and they're worthy volunteers. But sometimes there's a miss in desired outcome. So appreciate you all looking into that.
Any other questions or comments for our city council representatives? Thank you both for coming. Always appreciate it. Will you continue to be our representatives this year, or is that unknown?
That is unknown. We have not gotten our new committee assignment, so we decided we would still do our due diligence today.
Great.
It's a mystery. I will say, I hope to be back.
Thank you.
Okay, it's time for legislator privilege of the floor. Are there any legislators that wish to speak? Travis Brooks.
So here we are with an example of a broken system. The gentleman was approved for THA, went to the hotel with his animal and was denied because our DSS refuses to pay for pet deposits. At this point in time, even if we figure out a workaround the deposit, DSS is now closed, and so he can't utilize his THA. We have a shelter down the street that refuses to take an animal. You all know how cold it is outside. You all came in when I came in. So what do? We've heard countless stories about the issues around the shelter services, around clients not getting services, and here we are, it's freezing outside. We have a gentleman with a service dog who had THA and has nowhere to go. Corsa, welcome to the show. This is in your court. I hope that before the end of the night and we leave here, we figure something out. I can't imagine having to go outside and deal with the weather tonight. This is heartbreaking. Like this is the stories that people are sharing all the time with myself and others. Man is here with his caseworkers from REACH. He's not here on his own. He has advocates. What he's saying is true. There's 14 of us sitting in this space. We have the county administrator, and yet we have somebody who has nowhere to go. They did everything they were supposed to do and is stuck. This cannot continue.
Susan.
Just wanted to ask how much the pet deposit is. Do we know? So they won't accept it from another source? Yeah, I offered to pay it.
Deborah, did you have your hand up?
Yeah. Some of you don't know, between
college and law school, I took 2 years off, and I worked for the Social Services Department in Erie County. And that experience is exactly why I really have stayed as far away from HHS as I possibly can, because I saw stuff like this all the time. It's really frustrating to sit here and have people come and say to us, as Amanda did today, well, you know, you have the ability to look into this and find out what the problem is, and it just seems like we don't. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why, you know, at our last meeting, when the shower issue came up, we very promptly allocated $10,000 to get people shipped up to Lansing so they could take showers. And apparently it still hasn't happened. I don't understand what the problem is here with DSS. I'm getting really frustrated because it's kind of like the worst of being a middle manager. The complaints come from our constituents, and we say, this is what we're willing to do to fix it, and it doesn't get fixed. And you're right, this is heartbreaking. I understand why this gentleman is not going to put his dog out and sleep inside. Something's got to give here. And somebody, you know, the DSS commissioner is not a direct report, so unfortunately, welcome Corsa, the chain of command goes through the county administrator's office, but it sounds like one of your first problems is going to be figuring out why we can't meet the needs of our DSS clients and meet them quickly and timely. Thank you.
Ann.
So I see also Lisa's here, but she's just helping a little bit. I know we have two of our administrative deputies. I'm just wondering, and we have our new administrator, I'm just wondering if somebody has an idea or can contact DSS and get that ball rolling for us right now. You've contacted the commissioner? Okay, so hopefully we'll have some more information. If you get more information, if we could keep updated on this in this meeting. Thank you.
I did have a job working with DSS at the shelter. They let me go because I didn't have a driver's license. And I'm not driving anybody around. So I'm an able person to work. I'm not a lazy person. I was working with them and they let me go because I didn't have a license, a driver's license. And I'm not even driving anybody. I was working at the shelter myself. So it's not like I'm lazy and I don't want to work. I just don't have anywhere to put in while I work. That's all I'm saying.
We hear you.
Are there any other legislators that wish to speak? Rich.
Thank you, Dan, Chair Dan. I'm sorry to follow this subject because this is important and really sad, and I don't quite understand why we can't address it. But I came here to legislators' privilege of the floor because I wanted to talk about something a little bit more positive. And if you'll indulge me, I wanted to talk about my father-in-law, Larry Ciani, who is going to be 90 years old tomorrow, Elvis's birthday. But I wanted to talk about him in a very specific way, and in light of something that continually impresses me as a legislator, which is we are a county government, but we are highly dependent on the organizations, the not-for-profits and community organizations that surround us and make Tompkins County work. The public-private connection we have extends our reach dramatically, makes us much stronger and vibrant as a community. And I will pick on my father-in-law as an example of how strong we are as a volunteer community. I quietly asked him what agencies he had helped with over his years. He was on the board of the Salvation Army, the Red Cross. He was an elk, is an elk. He was on the Alcoholism and Drug Council. He served in the first organization that set up TC3 and helped hire the first president at TC3. He served on the board of the Reconstruction Home and helped with their decision to build a new building downtown. He was a member of the Junior Chamber of Commerce and then the Chamber of Commerce, and served as the president of the Chamber of Commerce when they built their new building down by the lake. He was on the board of the county hospital when it was on Quarry Street and helped with the decision to go up to the Biggs building. And he's continued to serve on the board there, and then continued to serve while the county made the decision to sell the hospital to the Cuga Medical Center, what is now Cuga Medical Center, and continued to serve on that board. Larry Ciani is not unique, but on his birthday tomorrow, I hope if you hear this, you say happy birthday and wish him well. He really did his bit for our community and continues to do so. So thank you.
Other legislators. Mike Lane.
Our Historical Commission continues to do good things, good work to commemorate Tompkins County and our communities and people. And as you all know, there's been a series of pamphlets or booklets, I guess we'd call them, that have been published over the last few years, thanks to the financial support of this legislature and Tompkins County. Well, there's a brand new one tonight. And that is in front of me. It's called William H. Miller, Architect, Making the World Beautiful. Very famous architect from Ithaca. This book is by Mary Tomlin, who has dedicated many years to studying the works that William Henry Miller has done. We've heard of the William Henry Miller Inn, the Cornell University Library, which is URIS now, many of the buildings at Cornell, many houses in Ithaca, the Southworth Library in Dryden, the Groton Library are from him. He did mansions all in other places in the state. Our interim county historian, Carol Kamen, is serving until we can appoint a new one, asked me to hand out to our legislators each a copy of this, and I know there'll be more, but the first group, there'll be some at the History Center and other places that are available. I've just seen it, but it's just filled with photographs of the buildings around here, the amazing work that was done. Kudos to not only Mary Tomlin, who wrote it, but the work at the Historical Commission of Sandy List, of Joe Mariana, of certainly Carol Kamen, and Simon St. Laurent have all contributed, and I'm sure there were others. But this is something we can be proud of, and we can be proud of our Historical Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Other legislator privilege of the floor. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I just had one small item for the chair's report. Last summer, Tompkins County awarded $8,000 to the town of Danby to hire a grant writer to write a community development block grant application for low to moderate income homeowner housing rehabilitations. The town has now been awarded that grant in the amount of $695,000 through the New York State Office of Homes and Community Renewal. This is excellent news for Danby, and it shows what a good investment the county's $8,000 was. Okay, we are now up to reports by our staff. For the first person up is our new county administrator, Corso Kumfi. I had the pleasure of having a little bit of lunch with you yesterday. I let him know that, some of the things we expect from him, including reports at our meetings. I did tell him he's off the hook for this first one if he wants, but I'm going to give him the time anyway. And before you start, I just wanted to let you know that I've saved these Tompkins weekly newspapers from October with your picture on the front page. So even before you got to town, you're on the front page. 2 of them, yeah. Send one to me. Okay, Corsa, you are on.
Yeah, okay, so, Corsa, about 4 inches from the mic works good. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So I just wanted to thank all of you for this amazing opportunity. I think listening from my first day, we have a lot of work to do, and I will echo what Greg said, as well as Dan, to meet your expectation and try as much as we can collaborate and also serve the community as much as we can. And I'm excited with the team. We met today to look at a few things. I think issues regarding DSS was key, actually number 1 agenda on the list of stuff we have to deal with. So we're looking forward to it. I'm excited, not scared yet. So thank you again, and we'll see how the days go and the months and the years. So thank you, and looking forward to working with all of you on the key issues and see what we can get done.
Thank you, Corson. Welcome again.
Welcome.
We are very confident in your abilities. That's why we hired you. We also know that there's a lot of people and landscape here to meet and get to know, so we know it's going to take a while. All right, next up is the County Attorney, Maury Josephson.
Good evening. Welcome, Corsa. I do not have a specific report. Our office continues working with the legislature, individual legislators, departments on all things great and small, from the Constitution down to the lowliest ordinance, and look forward to another year of doing that with an open door and a willingness to discuss just about everything, anything. And a repeat suggestion that when in doubt, consult. It often turns out better that way. And finally, in terms of report, because of issues of privilege, it may make sense going into this year to use the advice of counsel session more often than we can, or more often than we have, as compared with the executive session, to address what our office is doing with legal issues that the county is facing and that we work on from day to day. And if there are particular topics that anybody would like to hear about in an advice of counsel session, I'd be happy to put something together on that or talk about them offline. Finally, something to bear in mind, that the legal relationships between the county even its constituent organizations, there may be assumptions about that when they are actually much more complex than they may seem. So, please do, and I say that without going into details because of privilege issues, but be sure to ask questions about that. And with that, just can't wait to get into things this year.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Maury? Veronica.
What is an advice of counsel session?
It is a session where where the legislature meets with me as attorney to discuss or to request and or obtain legal advice on a privileged subject, and those are, it's not within the realm, it's not technically an executive session, typically they overlap, so advice of counsel is something that's outside the open meetings law.
So is it a creature of state law? Is it in our charter? Where does it arise?
It is in the open meetings law, okay. And it's also a matter that it's simply a longstanding common law and statutory outgrowth of the attorney-client privilege.
Thank you.
Anything else for our county attorney? Okay. Thank you, Maury. You know, I skipped asking if there were any questions or comments for Corsa, so let's just go half a step back. Did anybody want to ask or say anything to Corsa? Okay, we will have Ann.
Yeah, I just wanted to say welcome to you and your wife Hilda. And if there's anything, that you need, I know you have people right in the building that you mostly work in, but if there's anything you or your family needs or any advice or showing you around, just please reach out to I think I can speak for all the legislature. Please reach out to us. We'd be glad to help you and orient you on the whole county. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll keep going then. Next up is Director of Finance, Lori Scarrett, joining us remotely. Hello, Lori.
Good evening. I'm sorry I'm not able to be with you tonight, but I wanted to wish everybody a happy new year and just let you know that the finance office continues to be very busy. We're still living in 2024 and working on year-end things, and will be so for a few more months. So happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Questions or comments for the Director of Finance? Amanda.
I'm just wondering when we might get, I feel like it's been a while since we've had a sales tax report, or maybe that's only going to budget these days. I just feel like we haven't had one here for a while.
I bring you the monthly one every month, and we just did the November one, maybe I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 meetings ago.
I'm just losing my mind.
So the December one will be coming soon.
Okay, thanks.
The holiday break was long.
Yes, it was.
Any other questions or comments for Lori? Okay, thank you, Lori.
Welcome.
Are there any resolutions to be added to or withdrawn from the agenda? Greg.
Thank you, Dan. I'd like to ask that resolution number D, ID 13014, appointments to the Industrial Development Agency and Tompkins County Development Corporation Board of Directors be added to the agenda.
Is that a motion?
Proposal to add resolution D. Ann?
Do we need a second?
Yes, please.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. So we need 10 votes to get it on. Are there any discussion before we vote? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Okay, resolution D has been added. Amanda.
Yeah, let's see. I need to pull resolution C, directing the Department of Assessment to pause the annual equity maintenance program, ID 12904.
Okay, resolution C has been pulled.
Like completely, not to, yeah, okay.
Eliminated.
Eliminated. Thank you.
Withdrawn. All right. Anything else? Okay, we do not have a consent agenda tonight. That's a rare occurrence. So we will go right to resolution A. And resolution A is in the red folder. Oh.
It was a long break.
It was a long break, yeah. And when was the last time we did not have any consent agenda?
The wheels got a little rust.
Thank you.
Our wheels are a little rusty here.
Good. Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, standing and special committees. Yes, Public Safety Committee, Rich John, Chair.
The Public Safety Committee has not met, but I did want to just make sure the public heard a little bit from our sheriff. In light of the reports that were in the public regarding the Marcy Correctional Facility, this is a state prison up north of here where there was really a just horrible incident. And if you see the video, it's inexcusable. And there's almost certainly going to be extensive prosecutions coming out of that. But our sheriff issued a press release, and I wanted to just give it a little bit of airtime to say that we work really hard here in Tompkins County to not have anything like that ever happen. Running a detention facility is a dangerous thing, and it's a hard thing. But here in Tompkins County, we take a very different approach. And I just wanted to run through some of the bullet points that the sheriff shared in his press release. That he noted a past incident where a corrections officer slapped an inmate. That was immediately reported by another correction officer. That person was terminated and then prosecuted. There's a comprehensive grievance and complaint reporting system that is in place. We, the legislature, recently approved body cameras for all of the corrections officers. So when they're interacting with inmates, it's on film. And the use of force incidents are documented and investigated anytime any use of force is used. There is a duty to intervene policy that if an officer sees an incident that is inappropriate, they have a duty to report. And that's how that one came to light. We were recently reaccredited the Corrections Division by New York State Sheriff's Association, which is a rigorous process looking at all of the policies and practices and how the jail is actually run to say it's doing what it should be doing. There is constant training and ongoing training in de-escalation, mental health awareness, and cultural competency. And we've done several things to help with recruitment so that the jail is fully staffed. One of the areas you really run into problems with is when you don't have enough corrections officers and officers have to work a lot of overtime, and that's where you really start to see problems. And we've funded the jail sufficiently that we are seeing a full complement here. We have strengthened our hiring process with more rigorous background checks, psychological evaluations, and drug testing. And we recently funded improvements to the jail to improve some of the basic functions there, and there's more on the way to make sure our jail is doing what it needs to do and to do it safely for the inmates and the corrections officers. And I wanted to just spend a little bit of time on it because if anybody did see that video, it's terrible and it's just wrong in so many different ways. And we do it differently here, and I'm very proud of that. And I wanted to highlight it. So thank you for giving me a little bit of time to talk about that.
Thank you.
And I have no other report.
Any questions or comments for Rich? Mike Lane.
Rich, thanks for doing that, and certainly thanks to our sheriff for being out in front on this issue. But most important, a county jail is not a state prison, and people need to keep that in mind. County jail has people for short-term, no more than a year at the most can be sentenced there, but most people are there waiting some kind of court action. As everyone says, this incident, and I did see the video of what was going on at Marcy, and it was just disgusting.
Anything else for the Public Safety Committee? Downtown Facilities Special Committee, Randy Brown, Chair.
Thank you, Dan. Our next meeting is Tuesday, the 14th at 9 a.m. And we're going to get an update with the Holt contract and how that's going. We'll also have an update with communication with the State Historic Preservation Office. That communication's already begun. We're going to talk also about the Key Bank building is the temporary shelter for this season and what the status or plan is for the next season. And then we're going to also talk about temporary relocations of some departments.
Questions or comments for Randy? Okay, thank you. Next up, Health and Human Services Committee, Shauna Black, Chair.
Thank you, Dan. We have also not met, and Katrina, can you remind us when our next HHS meeting is? Sorry, I actually looked on the website and it's not updated for...
January 15th.
Okay. And so the one thing that I would ask from administration and perhaps from DSS, I know that we have had a few people come in here over the past few months and ask about the advisory council that is supposed to be a way for our community to provide input and to work with our local Department of Social Services. And I know that administration was tasked with that a few months ago, and I would ask that we actually have a report back to the HHS committee to talk about what that looks like, how we can incorporate that into the new year, because I think that is really a piece that's missing, because our community needs other ways to provide feedback about the service that they're receiving at DSS, other than coming twice a month and providing feedback back here in public comment. So if we could get a report from administration, that would be wonderful, very helpful.
I just want to mention that Katrina McCloy, our clerk, has been gathering information about that law that mandates that committee and that advisory board, and that part is ready to go.
Great, thank you.
Questions or comments for Shauna? Okay, thank you. Next up, Housing and Economic Development Committee, Greg Mezzi, Chair.
Thank you, Dan. We next meet on Thursday, the 9th. We normally meet on Wednesdays, but because of the holiday, we rescheduled to Thursday, the 9th. We'll be here in chambers at 3 o'clock. A number of things. We'll have updates on our homeless response from the continuum of care, and updates on Code Blue and our shelter. We'll also have a presentation from the Downtown Ithaca Alliance. They haven't been to the committee in a while, so they're going to come and provide an update. A number of things under the Department of Planning and Sustainability to report out, with some adjustments to the Community Housing Development Fund. And then also two other items. We have an update from the CVB on the New York State short-term rental law, which is the sales tax implication as it relates to short-term rentals. So we'll be getting an update there. And then also an update on the conference center, sort of looking forward to 2025. Discussion around some of the issues we've been hearing from members of the community as it relates to the conference center and surrounding areas, but also where the conference center is in terms of booking out future events for 2025 and beyond. Also, lastly, we'll be looking at workforce development with the Director of Workforce Development, Chris Bond, who's got a couple of new tools for this year that he'll be sort of sharing with us that hopefully will be of assistance to folks throughout the community. So a full agenda.
Questions or comments for Greg? Shauna.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up. In the December HED meeting, I came in and we talked about increasing the number for the IDA from 7 to 9. And I did just turn into Maury, I think this morning, a resolution, and he had drafted something up as well. Wanted to see when that was going to come through your committee.
So to get that out and have ample time to review that draft, and the committee, the plan was to have that at a discussion point in February because of the timing on when the agenda had to go out. If there's a member of the committee that wants to add that, by all means, that's purview of members of the committee. But the plan was that that would be addressed in February so that we could have ample time and then also ample notice to share with those that may want to come publicly comment on that or be part of that conversation. We just want to make sure that there's enough breathing room for folks to wrap their arms around that.
That's fair. The one thing I did want to give my colleagues the heads up, the one thing that I did add to the resolution that I think is important is it mentions us asking for an additional 2 members for the IDA, asking that one is going to be a member of one of our local schools that's located here in Tompkins County. The second part is making sure that one of our spots on the IDA remains suitable for labor. So I think, you know, as far as transparency and us kind of codifying who's on the IDA, I think, you know, for me personally, those are 2 important spots that if we're going to increase the IDA, I think those 2 people should be on the board. So I am including those in the resolution. Obviously, we'll see where it goes.
Anything else for Greg? Okay, thank you. Next up, Facilities and Infrastructure Committee, Lee Shurtleff, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Facilities and Infrastructure has not met since the last meeting, but we will be meeting on Thursday, the 16th, I'm sorry, Thursday the 16th. Just of note, we weren't able to make the announcement or discuss it at the 2 legislature meetings or in Facilities and Infrastructure last month, but I was pleased that the announcement was made regarding resumption of air partnership and flights to Washington, D.C. I think that's a good move ahead, and I know the airport is working on their strategic plan and should be an area of topic in the months ahead.
Very good. Thank you. Questions or comments for Lee? Okay, great. Next up is Government Operations Committee, Amanda Champion, Chair.
Thank you. All you other committees have not met, but Government Operations has already been hard at work this year. We met on Monday and had a very crisp meeting. We have a couple of resolutions here. The only update I really wanted to give is that we did talk about legislator travel and training for this coming year, which, as you may remember, we have less in our budget for legislators to go to conferences and things. But what we kind of came to at the meeting was that those folks who have already said they would like to go to NISAC, as well as Travis has a conference that he likes to go to, there will be enough funding for that to happen in February. Beyond that, I guess we agreed that we'll see what is left in the budget, and it will kind of be first come, first serve. If you have a conference or a training program that you'd like to do that is outside of like the fall NISAC and some other additional conference, please, you will still need to come to Government Operations and present that. And we'll see how much funding is left at that time and go from there. So happy to answer questions on that. I don't really have another report.
Questions or comments for Amanda? Okay, some resolutions?
Do you have some resolutions? So Resolution A is establishing 2025 meeting dates, ID 12824, and there is a change already in your packet, and I would move that that version. That change includes the very last date, December 15th, should be the 16th, and that was just an error in the day. The 16th is the Tuesday. So I move that.
Moving the resolution that's in the red folder. Is there a second? Susan seconds. Discussion.
Yeah, in the interest of having our annual discussion about whether or not we should give our clerks and our staff a break from our meeting schedule, I would move an amendment to remove Tuesday, July 1st from the schedule of meetings.
Is there a second?
I'll
Ann
second.
seconds. Discussion. Deborah, did you want to say a little more? You moved it?
Yeah, I mean, we've done this for the past 5 or 6 years, I guess, maybe longer. And the reason that we've done it is because it gives staff, and especially our clerks, an opportunity to schedule substantial vacation time without worrying about missing one of our meetings. So I think that that is a good policy and represents our nod to the need for our staff to do something besides come to our meetings.
Mike Lane, then Ann.
Yeah, I don't think it's any secret. I totally oppose this. We aren't elected as legislators, part-time legislators, to have vacations. We should meet twice a month. And to say that this is for our staff, I think is disingenuous, because they all have paid vacations, and they get to take them working with their supervisors anytime during the year. And I just think that we should not have this meeting on July 1st? And at GO, we talked about the fact that last year, at least, there was a big compression of the July 4th holiday, which is not going to happen this year. And so I would certainly not be voting for this.
Ann.
Yeah, thank you. As we know, the state, a lot of local municipalities, they don't meet as frequently as we do. I attend several municipal meetings in my district, and you know, for various holidays or other things, or if they don't, you know, they cancel meetings, and so I think, you know, continuing this to help staff take a break. I do know in talking, we don't just have the clerks too, we have a lot of staff from various departments, our direct reports, and I'm hearing from a lot of folks, not everybody, but for some folks, it's really hard because of our rigorous schedules and meeting in the evenings and for hours and hours, sometimes going till 10:30 at night, so that it's very hard to not just take that comp time or whatever you want to call it, but also to take their vacations, and some staff lose some of their vacation because they just can't take it within the year because of this rigorous schedule. So if we can get our work done with one less meeting a year, and if that couple of hours gives, even if staff don't need to take it, arrange their vacations, if they can take that time and do the work that we keep asking them to do, I think that's a win-win. And if needed, as has been said other times, other years when we've brought this up, we could schedule a meeting if we need to, if there's something urgent or something timely that comes up.
Deborah.
I just want to call attention to the fact that I think there's a rule that we don't question each other's motivations for proposing, making a resolution, whatever. You may not be convinced, Mike, that staff needs this time, but you really aren't in a position to suggest that my stated reasons for pursuing this are disingenuous. I feel perfectly free to take time off and miss a meeting anytime I want to be out of town. This is not about me.
I'm sorry, Deborah, but I did not say your offer of this was disingenuous. I said that the idea of this having to be for staff purposes was disingenuous.
It's a pretty thin slice of bologna.
Shauna.
So I've actually talked to staff. I've talked to half of our clerks, and they actually do appreciate the time off. And
Well, who wouldn't? Sorry.
Well, they don't get the day off either. Okay, Shauna has the floor.
Yeah. So, you know, I think whenever we look at a small office, we have 4 clerks. They're constantly working. You know, most of us, there are committee meetings every week. There's other things going on throughout the week. I mean, if this can give them a little bit of respite and allow people to take break whenever they typically feel like they can't, I mean, we're supposed to be an employer of choice. And if this is the one thing that we can do is cut one of our meetings, I mean, for me personally, I don't go on vacation that week because I have kids and they're in school. And, you know, if I'm going to take a vacation, it's going to be during spring break or winter break. And also, just like Deborah said, I mean, typically, if we're going to take a break, we're going to miss meetings. Like that, things happen. And I think all of us understand that. So I am going to be supporting this. I think I've supported it the past 5 years.
Rich.
Yeah, I'll support the amendment for the reasons stated. I think this is a benefit that actually helps us as a legislature too. Sometimes we get a little testy with each other, and maybe some time apart is a good thing. But it really is something I think that helps our clerks, but also the department heads who are called to be here in person or sit here on Zoom. And the sky has not fallen. We've been able to get our work done. I think this is a reasonable course. Thanks.
Mike Sigler.
I don't have a strong feeling about this either way. I just wanted to mention that July 1st is the date that the Continental Congress did convene to start voting, and it's actually a day of shame for New York State where we abstained from the vote. We didn't even take a position. We abstained. So here you go.
Wow.
That's right. More you know.
Greg.
Thanks. I didn't support this amendment in committee I feel comfortable moving forward with the amendment. I do want to just remind our colleagues that it does come at a cost. I looked at our third Tuesday meeting in July the last couple years, and I remember us all groaning at the length of the agenda because it was a month between meetings. So while it is nice to provide our clerks a break, we have to remember the cost of that is that it was like a 11 o'clock meeting on the third Tuesday of that month. So it's not free, and that we pay for it later. But if the intention and the will is there, great, but it does come with a price.
Anybody else on this resolution, on this amendment? So the amendment is to strike July 1st from the list of meeting dates. Are we ready to have a vote on the amendment? Okay, all in favor of striking July 1st? Please keep your hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All opposed? Motion carries 10-4. The amendment is now part of the main motion. Discussion on the main motion. Okay, we've had enough discussion. We are voting then on the resolution to establish the meeting dates minus July 1st. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, I have another resolution. Resolution B, authorizing a public hearing on proposed local law number A of 2025, a local law adopting the tax exemption allowed pursuant to new real property tax law 421-P, ID 12917. I would move that.
Is there a second? Veronica seconds. Discussion.
And this is just setting the public hearing. I did forward the actual law today to you in your email, and that you can peruse that, and we can talk about that more in depth after the public hearing, which would be, I think, at our next meeting. Yeah, at our next meeting. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Resolution B has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Deborah.
For the benefit of the 5 members of the public who are probably watching this meeting, I just wanted to clarify that what this would do was exempt from tax the additional value created by adding an accessory dwelling unit to an existing residential property.
Right, and for the first, like each year, it becomes less exemption. So slowly, those would be added back.
Kind of like an IDA incentive.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Let's have a vote then on Resolution B. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. The public hearing has been set. Okay, Resolution C was withdrawn, so that is it for government operations tonight?
Yeah, except for we will also be the hardest working committee this year.
The gauntlet has been thrown down. Ann, did you have something you wanted to say?
I don't know if this falls under government operations. I know we're scheduling all our meetings for the coming year, the committee meetings. Just wondering why January can't be on the calendar, on the electronic calendar online.
It is.
I'm only seeing government okay. Maybe I had a setting wrong. Okay, never mind. January's there. All right, thank you.
It's just eclipsed by government operations.
That's right.
Never mind.
Any other questions or comments for Amanda? Okay, thank you. Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee, Ann Corman, Chair.
Thank you. We have not met since our last legislature meeting. We are meeting this coming Monday, January 13th, 10 a.m., right here in these lovely chambers. And so we have a few resolution, a lot of them, or a few of them are routine, but some of them have to do with stream corridors, Fall Creek Stream, and our business advisories program. But what I really wanted to highlight was we're having a report from the Water Resources Council, and it's about their strategy for 25 through 27. So please take a look at that and or attend the meeting or watch it virtually. They're also going to talk about their last 2 years and their accomplishments. They are quite a robust organization, and they protect our water, not just above the surface, below the surface, drinking water, all kinds of things. And so please attend that. And just for committee members, if you, the presentation is included in the packet, but if you look at it online on packet page 24, I haven't tested it, but there's a link where you can get more information on some of the maps and the water quality strategy. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Ann? Okay, thank you. Community Recovery Fund Advisory Committee. The only thing I would report, one of our members of the public tonight referenced some money that we have given for a program we're calling the Housing Specialist, I think, and also a Goods and Supplies Fund for people moving into some of the facilities, lower income facilities. And as the speaker pointed out, that position is currently vacant. So the Human Services Coalition, who was the recipient of that grant, will be coming to us soon with a proposal of how to maybe spend that money in a different way. I'll also just mention, we are not able to claw back the money as was suggested. The federal government deadline has passed for that. We can no longer take that money back. We have to use it for a similar purpose or return it to the federal government. So stay tuned for more on that soon. Questions or comments about the Community Recovery Fund? Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee, Mike Lane, Chair.
We will meet again on January 9th. That's this Thursday at 9 o'clock here. That's all I have.
I'm sorry, Mike, did you, I'm sorry, I got distracted.
I'm glad to repeat that. I said,
He's
I
done.
said we will meet again on Thursday, January 9th at 9 o'clock right here. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Next up is Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee, Veronica Pillar, Chair.
Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee has not met since our last meeting. We will next be meeting on Wednesday, January 22nd, the day after our next meeting at 3 p.m. I would just like to remind folks that WDIC, in addition to having legislator members, also has community members and Tompkins County staff. As I've said before, we have quite a few vacancies now, thanks to folks who have already applied to join the committee, and more applications are very welcome from anybody, and especially encouraging non-management staff to apply, as we currently have 0 of y'all, and we'd love some. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Veronica? Okay. We're at individual member filed resolutions, and we had added Resolution D to the agenda. Resolution D, Greg Mezzi.
Thank you. I'd like to move Resolution D, ID 13014, appointments to the Industrial Development Agency and Tompkins County Development Corporation Board of Directors.
Rich John seconds.
If I may.
Please.
So this is procedural because the appointments of the 4 at-large members to the IDA, their term expired on December 31st, 2024. And this is a 30-day extension of their term to give any appointments for at-large members to the IDA time to process through the committee system back through the legislature. And so this is just a 30-day extending their term because the IDA does meet tomorrow and has business to vote on. So we wanted to make sure that the IDA was fully comprised of a full complement of members.
Thank you. Discussion. Rich.
I just wanted to say thank you to Greg and Katrina for catching this. We would have had a difficult meeting tomorrow.
Short one.
So thank you.
Or illegal.
So I just want to repeat this for the sake of the public, because I know this is a sensitive topic. The Industrial Development Agency is, people have a lot of opinions. This is just a 30-day extension, just so we can have a meeting tomorrow. There's no further consequences than that. Okay, other discussion. Are we ready to vote on Resolution D? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. The motion carries. Thank you. All right. Will somebody move the minutes of the previous meeting, December 17th, 2024? Travis moves, Deborah seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. You know, I'm going to say a quick thing under unfinished business. I probably should have said under the chair's report. It was already hinted at. The committees that we had from last year are continuing through the month of January, and then our goal is to kind of reboot everything starting February 1st, possibly new committees and new committee assignments. And on that note, our new vice chair, Greg Mezzi, is coordinating the schedule of individual meetings with legislators and leadership to talk about what committee they would like to be on, among other things. So it looks like that's getting passed around the room. It would be really helpful if you could sign up for that as soon as possible so we could get the schedule locked in place, because as you know, it's kind of a big, long process to put all those pieces of the puzzle together. Mike Sigler.
No, I just wanted to say before the meeting ends, our director of DSS has gotten back to us about the issues that were presented earlier in the room, and I believe our county attorney has those answers. So. Is that not true? I got an email that said that is true.
There's some truth to that. Maury, do you want to comment?
Yes. We did get a response from DSS. Some of it would need to be, involves confidential information concerning an individual who may be a client, maybe not a client, and what can be disclosed about that. The other piece of it is to the extent we're talking about the performance of particular staff members that should arguably be in executive session, and also if we're talking about legal issues that should be in executive session. We did get some information on general policy with respect to the issues that have come up, which I can put on public record, and that is that the Department of Social Services, which reports to the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, that OTDA, or OTDA, does not provide reimbursement for pet deposits, and that hotels have been known to turn away guests even with a pet deposit and with an individual who has a service animal, and that was the policy at St. John's. Other than those policy items, there's not anything more I could say, but those are the policy responses that we received.
Travis.
Maury, are you saying that St. John's had a policy that they didn't take animals?
I am relaying what I have been told is the rule at St. John's. I don't have personal knowledge of that, but I am told through the game of telephone, so it may make sense to verify this, that St. John's did not take service animals. At least that is my understanding. That I'd prefer to have more concrete information on that also.
Deborah.
So if the thing that's preventing Kit from discussing this case is confidentiality, and the client is here and willing to waive that. Can we move forward in a private session?
The answer is that I do not know whether that waiver, so to speak, is legally effective or would free DSS to have a public discussion of it.
I'm not necessarily proposing a public discussion. I'm proposing a executive session discussion.
I don't believe we are entitled to know the status of DSS clients.
Right.
If the client gives us permission, though.
I think if they
I do not believe we-
information, because I've done that before.
This is very frustrating because this is the response we get every time there's a complaint that relates to a specific case. We are told, oh, can't discuss that, it's private. I'm sort of at the end of my rope with this routine.
Greg.
Maureen, can you split the difference for us between what's an individual staff member's performance and what's an issue with the department, a policy, or something like that? Because I'm wondering if there's an issue with the DSS policy, how is that a staff performance issue? Because I mean, we're policy setters. I feel like we should be able to talk about policy. And then I also feel like if there's something that comes to us, we should be able to ask about that. And I don't feel like anybody had said anything about any specific individual around this table. So like, how does it become a staff performance issue? Because I often feel like we're not able to question department decisions or policy decisions with this guise that it's going to be it's not a personal attack. It's questioning the activities of the county. Like where's the line? Where's the difference?
I would say two things on that. One is if it is an issue of department policy, that, you know, something that the legislature or a legislator is not happy with that a department has done or proposed to do. You know, one example being the budget issue about public Wi-Fi. You know, that's fair game, and that's not a comment on any particular individual's performance. If the discussion is going to shade into from the agency's performance to a critique of the leadership of the department or individual members of the department, I think then we are getting into personnel issues that are not appropriate for public discussion. The second thing that I was going to say about that is I think I was probably somewhat obscure in my report talking about the complexities of relationships between the legislature and its constituent organizations, which may be hybrid constituent organizations. And that I would be rendering legal advice to the legislature, and that should occur in a privileged setting.
So I guess my second question, if OTDA doesn't reimburse for pet deposits, in theory, could the legislature pass something and allocate some sort of contingent fund to cover pet deposits for our unhoused population?
For service animals.
For service animals?
Yeah.
I see no reason why that could not be done.
Ann.
I was just thinking of what I think someone said before, that possibly that social service or DSS is then also responsible for anything. So the deposit is kind of made on behalf of DSS. I'm not sure. I mean, that's what I thought I heard before. So it sounds like a little bit complicated, like we want to get some information on how to do that. I wouldn't be prepared to do it right at this meeting because we don't know the process, but I think we should look into it.
Randy.
All of this is under our control. And when we get to these situations, it's not the first time that these situations have happened. And we just failed to be proactive, in my mind. So I think it is a policy around service animals. And maybe that's the policy thing that we should be talking about. I know that's not the first time somebody came in and had an issue with where they were going to house their animals. There may be some liability with the type of animal as well. I know I rent apartments, and my insurance carrier said, no, we will not allow that particular animal. That's just the way things are. I couldn't get insurance, and I did told the person no. She couldn't get insurance, so that was unfortunate. But she got a smaller animal, so which is good. But I think all these things are under control. I think showers are under control. I think that it just takes money. Really, it comes down to, we could buy a really nice portable commercial shower units for $30,000 and have it delivered within a week. So those are things that we can do.
Okay, I've had a request to call for an executive session. Executive session is for the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Is there somebody who would like to move that we go into executive session? Deborah moves, Greg seconds. Okay, let's vote to go into executive session. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. In a few minutes, we'll go into executive session. It'll take us a few minutes to shut down the cameras. When we come out of executive session, we do not expect to take any action. We are in recess.
Extensive.